Dun, 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 dun. Oh, yeah. Welcome, welcome, welcome. What's up, everybody? Good to see y'all. Good to see y'all. That's not how we talk, but that's how a lot of my friends talk in Texas, which is pretty cool. Texas is cool. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the live stream. I'm just going to give it a few minutes before I get cracking with everything to give people a chance to log in and jump on the chat. If you are just now logging in, um, you should be trying to chat uh, on YouTube. So you can go to Catch the Goes. That's where the main chat will be. I know that I am broadcasting to Facebook as well, so you may be tuning in and catching me on Facebook. And if you're popping by and scrolling through and you're like, what's going on? I'm going to be doing a quick little recap of a bunch of my music that came out this month and be doing some giveaways for some cool Coflo Tsunami original swag having to do with my tunes. So if you are on Facebook, go to catchtheghost.tv and then you can watch the official video that's being broadcast through YouTube, and you can click the link and come and chat and interact, because if you want the chance to win some goodies, that's how you're going to do it. Jump on the chat. If you are, so make sure you head over there and check it out. I'm just setting up the chat room now so I can see everything and make sure everything's looking and chat and interact. Fantastic. Because if you, because these chat windows are insane right now. There's just chat windows galore. And we're going to be doing a little Q&A session as well as a part of this. So if you have questions, you can feed them into the chat and we can talk about it. So I'm just going to give it a few more minutes. I'm going to let my sister Lady C serenade us a bit in the background. What's up, John? I see you on Facebook. Head over to catchtheghost.tv for those of you popping in on Facebook so you can be a part of the full chat experience. Catchtheghost.tv has a link to the YouTube goody goodness. So join us as we get this thing cracking. Should be cool. A lot of crazy music. People are just blazing through right now with the amount of music that they're releasing. It is insane. Absolutely insane. What up, Mark? Good to see you, my brother. Happy Saturday. If you got another 30-40 minutes, want to hang out with me, head over to catchtheghost.tv. I'm going to be doing some giveaways for some cool stuff, bro, so you could win. You could be a winner. Might be dope. What's up, Keegan? Keylock in the building. T-Dot, Canada represent. What up, Vanna? So excited to have you here. Thank you for joining. We're just going to give it a few more minutes before we start looking at the goods. Yeah, hit him hard, brother. You already know it, Daryl. Thank you. The blueprint is hot, and we are definitely going to take a little look-see at the blueprint and talk about it a little bit. So that should be super dope. If you're just popping over on Facebook, go to catchtheghost.tv. Has the link to the full chat experience so you can be a part of the chat. I am monitoring Facebook, but I unfortunately cannot monitor Facebook as the official chat. So as we're waiting for more folks to log on, I want to start by giving a massive shout out, and I'll make sure that I mention this again, but a massive shout out to my sister, my crewmate Rose, for helping out with all that she's been doing. She's been smashing it on helping me with my social media and promotional stuff, and she's a very organized person, and she's helping me like organize and consolidate the craziness that is my life trying to do this music art thing. So she's really helping out in this particular event and future events with a lot of stuff that we're doing. The Simmer Room, she's just doing so much. So Rose, big love, girl. You are making things super awesome for me. So, and this really, in general, although we're like a little combo here with this event, her trying to find different ways to have me engage with people in my music is, a lot of this is derived from her go-getter attitude. So big love to Rose for making that happen and for helping and making all this happen. Couldn't happen without her, that's for sure. I can't do everything, even though I try to do everything myself. Also, big love to Tsunami. Uh, not only is she gorgeous and amazing, is she's also helping out a tremendous amount with my music endeavors, both as being like my kind of branded artist. I love her art. I'm not just saying that because I have to share toilets with her here at the house and we eat from the same table, but also because she really is one of my favorite artists of all time. So yeah, a lot of this stuff that we're going to be looking at is her, so it should be really cool. So I've been killing enough time, hopefully, here to let people kind of log on as Lady C. I want to be on your mind, little like background vibe going on. Um, so if you are tuning in right now on Facebook, once again, I'll continue to mention it because I see people messaging me. What up, Carl, on Facebook? Uh, Thanks for the love, brother. Head over to catchtheghost.tv. That's where you can find the link to the full chat where we're going to be doing the giveaways and all that stuff. So what up, Alan? Good to see you in the Chizat player. Okay, so cool. So let's get this ball a rolling, shall we? So I want to start by saying, what is this about and what's going on and what are we doing? Well, I think most importantly, one of the things with me talking about my music and sharing my music is me also recognizing that it's not just about trying to get people to buy or to necessarily hear, but for me, it's like a way of life. So a lot of what I do, kind of the outward personality of Coflo, is like this house music guy, house music, house dance, house music culture. And I think it's really important to just right off the bat, for any audience that I have, really to come very sincerely to say, like, this culture is something that I don't want to say changed my life, because I barely remember like a conscious way of life before this music um, shaped who I am as a human, as a man, as a grown adult, as a member of society. This music has really taught me, this music and this culture and the people in this culture have really taught me how to interact with people in a very humane, very same playing field, same level of understanding, same level of issues, complications, bad times, good times. The music has really boiled down to this, and it's, I don't want to sound cliche, but it's really boiled down to this ability of helping me live a better life, so that I can freely express myself within the music. And that comes by way of the way I produce my music, I write my music. In some cases, my goals for what I might be doing in the business of music, and as well as with my dance, and really all of my very close relationships that I've developed over my life come from this culture. And again, I emphasize this because there's a lot of crazy ass shit going down right now. And it's not right now, but it's been something that's been going on for a really long time. In this country, we're really heated right now with the injustices and the fucked up shit that's been going on with people of color, and the fucked up systems that have to do with law enforcement and civil liberties and all this shit that's really it's not my domain of expertise, and I don't use my music as like a political outlet whatsoever, so I don't want to front like I have that. But there's just so much. We're locked down and we're just force fed. We only have so much that we can look to in social media and online and the news. Just being force fed this, all of this crazy injustice and all of this scary, coronavirus and deaths, and all of this stuff is just, it's really, really, really stressful. And I do a pretty good job of not really consuming social media. I kind of export, but I don't really consume much. So you know, it's for me to be stressed out about it. I can only imagine the people that are really living in the thick of it and really have to experience way more than I'll never experience. And I think reason why I bring that up is because my music derives from a lot of these cultures and these people that have been fighting and have been wanting to express themselves and been wanting a level of freedom and quite frankly life fair play, um, and the beauty that's come out of these fucked up situations for so long. um, that's what this music is, and I really identify the message of the music, and that's why the culture is so important to me to represent that. And I want to talk about that as I'm going through, not the injustices and the political stuff, but the and why these songs sound different, they do different things. And there's this idea of genreification and stylistic things where labels and more of the commercial side of things come into play. And to be honest, a lot of it really bothers me as an artist being put into a bucket. And I'm okay with it from a business standpoint because I understand that there's a certain level of, in order for me to get the platform, I feel like I deserve to represent the culture well. I have to unfortunately play ball a bit, and I see it as a bigger picture, and not to say that I will go against any moral compass that I have always flown true with, but rather silly shit like weird labels and mislabeling my music as soulful versus deep or whatever. You know, it's all trivial bullshit just to get the platform that an artist really needs to say, this is what my music is. So, okay. I had to say that. I had to get it off my chest because I think it's an underlying fact. Like, this music is my culture. It is the culture, a huge portion of this culture of this country and the people that represent what this culture is. So, as we're going through, if you have questions or questions come up, hit them in the chat. Let me know what's good. I will hopefully try to field questions as we're going through and all of that good stuff. And we're gonna, we're not gonna spend like a ton of time detailing into each part of the project. But of course, if there is a level of detail somebody asks questions about, I'd love to elaborate. This is really for you and also for me to kind of shine light on my various approaches to the music. What up, Odie? What's good, brother? Thank you for stopping by. If you want the full chat vibe experience, brother, head over to catchtheghost.tv. So without further ado, let's get it started. Stay locked so you can be a part of the giveaways and goodness. So to kick things off, here at the beginning of the month, a compilation came out on Night Grooves, which I'm just bringing up the screen here so we can have a better look-see. So Night Grooves and King Street and King Street Sounds. It's an old record label based out of New York. They asked me to do a remix for an artist, Soul Lab, and a singer, songwriter, Rochelle Hicks. They asked me to do a little remix package. I had done two versions of the song. One was like a very kind of soulful deep take, which came out, I don't know, some months ago. And I think it was really fucking cool. I think I did a decent job. I really flipped it on its head, I thought. And then I also did a dub version, which was completely flipped. And the version that came out at the beginning of this month, that was released on May 5th or May 1st, was the Why Should I Stay vocal dub. And this was a part of an EP that was with a few other friends of mine. So the EP featured a couple of my particular friends, Kevin Sylvester, who's an amazing producer, remixer. He did a remix of Be Yourself with Guri Boys and Josh Milan. And then also my brother Stan Zeff, residing in Atlanta, he did a remix of Blue Parrot. So a really cool project. Check it out. But let's go ahead and pop over into the song and let's get a little tasty taste, shall we? So I did some. So what you're looking at on screen, just in case you're not familiar with the channel that we've been tuned into here at catchtheghost.tv, is we're looking at my old school clicker tube TV, and we're looking inside of a music project that I've set up just for our chat. So what you're going to be looking at is I took various parts of the songs and I kind of turned them into what they're called stems. So stems in the musical world are a lot of the times groupings of things. Like you could take all of your drum sounds and put them into a stem, all of your melodic ideas and put them into a stem, maybe all of the vocals, the bass line stuff, all that kind of stuff. So what you're looking at is not necessarily the details of the project, because I didn't want to nerd out for this particular stream. I want to do other stuff where you get to nerd out with me if you're the kind of person who gives that much of a shit about the nuances of making music. But really, this is just me like taking these main stem groups and being able to let you hear some of the song and be able to talk about why I did what and these various different parts in it. So that's what you're going to be looking at, is these stems. So you're not hearing all of the parts, you're hearing groupings for parts. So cool. So let's go ahead and start it out. I'm just going to start from the beginning and then I'll talk about some stuff and solo some stuff. So here comes the song from the beginning. Again, this is Why Should I Stay? Soul Lab and Rochelle Hicks. This is the Coflo vocal dub. Sorry about that. Let the audio go up a little too loud. My bad. Should sound better now. Okay, so this is where I get to talk a little bit about, it's like this perpetual build. So where did the idea for this song actually come from? And so for this particular song, because it's a remix, so it's not an original production. I didn't write the original song. I didn't record the vocals, all that good stuff. As I had said, I had done a different remix of it. For this one, I took a particular part that the original producer had done with this repeating vocal, and I decided to kind of chop it up and use portions of it. Yo, what's good, Angela? Emily 10 was good. I see you in the chat. Head over to catchtheghost.tv. Sorry to do my little commercial announcement. Head over to catchtheghost.tv for the full chat experience, everybody. Taking this like vocal part and kind of having this redundancy, weird kind of like repeating vibe, what was happening, that kind of gave way to me trying to build like a rhythm around that vocal. And I wanted to do something deep and dubby kind of meaning using parts of the vocal, not the full verse, song, chorus kind of idea. And I really actually started with kind of what you hear with kind of these hi-hats or shakers in the song, which are in the drum section. And I have all the drums kind of going right here, but you can hear them a bit more clearly if you're just listening to the drum section. So I'll let that play for you. So it's that really high, shaky, soundy stuff that's going on in there. So I kind of started with something like that to give me a semblance of energy, right? And then from there, I started building this bass patch thing that kind of like moved around in an empty space with the vocals. So it was like teasing in and out, right? And with that vocal creating a rhythm, those kind of three things, the weird shakery, tinny sounds, hi-hatty type things that were going on, tambourine, the vocal and the bass were really this bedrock for me to kind of start developing more rhythm and groove inside of my drums, and then also inside of other instruments that came to be after the fact. And really the order was like what you hear there, and then I started developing this swelling idea with these pads, these synthesizers that were creating this swelling idea. And between kind of those three main elements, the vocal, the bass, and these swells, and of course that shaker that was going, I just don't have that part separated for you. I had this really nice groove and kind of like, I don't know, spacey vibe. It felt dubby to me. It felt complete but empty. And so, in true producer fashion, which a lot of people can definitely identify with, what ends up happening is you get to a point where you've been listening to something and trying to build something, and you're listening to a section, you're like, fuck, this is not really going anywhere. I decided I'm gonna kind of take this song where I feel like I'm building this level of just emptiness and dubbiness, and then I'm gonna slam it in with some very big dance vibes. And this song is not like me. It's not like me in terms of how I generally produce music. I decided that I was gonna do something a little more brash, a little bit more, I think, generally um, generally more understandable. I more casual house music person. I'm usually more thinking of more underground people that are really heavy and eclectic and collectors and dancers. And I realize that house music, the beauty of it can be everything from more of a commercial side down to a really underground side. So this is kind of me like walking a line between what's more consciously normal for casual people and then the underground. And I kind of started out a bit more underground, and then as we broke into the song is where it got a little crazier. So I'm going to let this break happen, and then you can hear how the melodic elements change. They get more rhythmic, more not violent, but more is happening, and then the bass line starts hitting. So I'm going to let that play so you guys can hear that little section. And 10 asks a question. I missed it, but why do you use GarageBand? I don't use GarageBand. I use Logic Pro. So what we're actually looking at is Logic Pro, and we're looking at a particular section where we're just looking at portions of a song, not the full everything in the song. So here we go. Let's drop it. It feels like we're really building up to something, right? And we give it to him. And so now I'm going through another building section to where we get to the like second and main drop, where it gives you the main dance idea right here. Okay, so you can hear how the bass line goes from, in this beginning section goes from very spacious to more consistent. And then as that next break happens, it goes to like this really much more vibrant kind of moving around kind of vibe, right? And it's that progression of the song, and it really plays to the emptiness of the vocal is giving way to the bass line really giving you the main melody. And in some cases, there's kind of like this counter idea between the pads and the synths kind of playing off of that bass line. But again, this isn't really a style. What do you consider the style of music? Is it deep house? Is it regular house? Is it, what is it? I don't know. But the style is not something that I think is inherently my character, but it was something that I felt like I could approach comfortably because of the style of vocal and because of the approach I was taking with a dub. I could be a little bit more crazy with the bass lines, which I don't usually do, and make them abrasive and that kind of thing. Keylock asks a good question. Do you start with drums or the melody? Do you usually hear first? What do you usually hear first when thinking of a song? I actually don't start with anything in particular. If I'm working on a remix, like this was a part of a remix project and this was a dub, I start with the vocals almost exclusively. Very rarely do I make something and then try to see if the vocals fit. I kind of try to work within the vocal, whether I'm cutting it up, sampling it, chopping it, using it as is. And I try to, really come into my own there with that and build it around that. But I mean, it could happen in a few different ways. Cool. So let's go ahead and jump into another song. So this song now is the next song that came out in May, and it's called Blueprint. And this is with me and Brother Basil, legendary Brother Basil. Dude is he's a beast. He's been around since the '80s doing house music in the culture. He's one of some of the earliest of producers and artists to speak and to put conscious thought into a house music record and not just do kind of like disco remake kind of stuff. He's been around a long time. He's a good friend of mine. The guy is also considered an early generational, if not one of the first generations of actual New York club dancers or loft. Or when I say loft, I don't mean necessarily the loft, but loft party and kind of that underground party culture dancers. He's really famous for his being a massively, majorly large human being. He's like six dudes, and he could just jump into the air like a frolicking deer and just smoothly come down to the ground with these diving style groundwork maneuvers. So the dude's, it's really cool to work with him from time to time, and it's cool to have a relationship with him because he's a part of the legacy of this culture and this community with the music and the dance. And Blueprint was a track that came out on Ultra Records. And I work for Ocha as a label manager and A&R, so I have a lot of liberties working for Carlos Mena, who's the owner and founder of the label, with the other founder originally, Ocean Lade. So I have a lot of liberties working for Carlos, and I get to bring him really cool projects like this one. And really, something that's really cool about this project is the artwork that Tsunami did. She smashed this. Like, that looks like Basil, and that looks like me. Yeah, she killed it, and it's a blueprint, and it looks like a blueprint, and it's always cool when I get my face on something, and yeah, and I look like, I don't know, I look cooler than I look like in real life in a picture. So it's super, super cool, feeding into my ego a little bit, or rather helping it. There was 4 different mixes that I did for this project with Basil. We did a bounce and skate mix, which is kind of like the initial mix, has like a really straight ahead backbeat. And then there was the For Show groove mix, which is the version we're going to be looking at. And then 2 other versions, and all of the versions kind of have their own flavor of things. I would consider the first 2 versions, the bounce skate and the For Show groove versions, to be more of a soulful house kind of vibe. Hold on, let me change this so we have the right album art here. I feel like the first 2 versions were really much more of a soulful vibe, and then the original mix has more of like has more of a deep vibe, and it has more of like a diasporic. Like, I used a lot of natural drums and rhythms and percussion, and this kind of goes into what I was saying initially when I was kicking off the stream, is that these songs get put into different categories, but I don't really feel like I'm necessarily always doing different categories. I get it from a retail perspective, but for me, if you were to be like, Coflo, Brass Tacks, this sounds way different than that. What are you making? Sometimes you do techno or tech house. Sometimes you're doing soulful or Afro house. And it's, to me, if you really ask me what I'm doing American house music, which at its core, if we wanted to get really technical, I'm making African American house music. I'm taking a music that comes from the country that I was born in, and from a community and a culture that isn't from where I'm from, which is in the East Bay in California. And I'm perpetuating that and trying to live that music culture a bit, as much as I possibly can, and try to stay true to that. So for me, it's not a genre thing. This is a part of the American culture that I grew up with and that I'm living now. So yeah, you get a genre, and you'll start to see these things, especially if you're a collector. That there's genres galore, and it's really a retail thing, at least in my opinion. So let's listen to it. This is Brother Basil and Coflo, the Blueprint. And this one gives to me, it gives a really soulful vibe. It has a nice bounce, has a nice groove. Let's listen to a bit. I'm going to jump around some, though.
Without a plan that I could understand.
So I'm gonna pause it there as I accidentally muted Brother Basil's main vocal part. That's whack, especially because he's the main part of the song. I'm gonna skip ahead a bit in the song, but you can kind of this song was much more simple in terms of the goal for this version of the mix was to build a good groove that felt like a groove. It didn't feel like it was changing a lot. It felt like something that can roll, so that the importance of Basil's words are the message rather than doing fuck tons with the music to try to distract the listener's ear some. I kept it more simple, and the principle in the process for this song was Basil said, you know, I send Basil music from time to time so he can either write to it or potentially see if we want to collaborate on something, and sometimes he'll give me ideas and see if I want to collaborate, you know. And this one, he came back to me and said, you had sent me some a while ago and I had ended up, you know, doing something, and I thought this could really work for this sound, which then blossomed into a fuller project. So this is really derived, all of the music really derives around Basil's vocal first and foremost. So it's not your traditional remix, like where I'm getting it from another artist and trying to flip it on its head. It's more like, how do I deliver Basil's story in different ways? And with the different versions, they all offer something really cool. This particular one was really about a groove. So I'm going to go ahead and play a little bit more here and let this next little part of his vocal and a little bit more of the song kind of come in so you can hear the kind of vibe that's going on. Way more funky with this one.
I never saw a blueprint, and I never had a plan. I never knew the definition of being a man. I blamed nothing on my father. Was the middle of three sons. Was oftentimes confused and related to no one. I came up in a home, clothes on my back. Mama said, watch these streets, especially when you're black. I never saw.
So as the song progresses, and you can kind of see here in my stems, which is really nice when you even have, even though you're not seeing all the details of the track and you're not just looking at it as one song, the visual representation, the way you can see is you can kind of see how the track just progresses and builds a bit. And it's a really common theme with doing dance music where you're just kind of like, you know, building these small things to create more and create more. And here you can see kind of this from this section to this section is where the most is taking place. And that's what was built up to in the song is, again, giving enough room for Basil to tell his story and build something interesting behind it to where it doesn't necessarily rip away, but maybe add some level of danceability. And a lot of the times I'm thinking about danceability as I'm continuing to pick sounds and decide how the music should be written. So this song came out May 8th, which was celebrating Basil's birthday. And if you're wanting to pick it up, sorry, I forgot to mention on the last song, these songs can be streamed. Most of these songs can be streamed on any streaming platform. A lot of them, if you're looking to purchase, are available either on my Bandcamp, which is coflo.bandcamp.com. And you can see a bunch of music on here. Not all of my music is on here. And the reason why is I work with different record labels. And a lot of the times I can't connect my Bandcamp to what they're doing. And in the case that you can't get them on my Bandcamp, a lot of times you can go to places like TrackSource. For instance, the Night Grooves, the Why Should I Stay remix that we looked at the beginning is available on TrackSource. Blueprint is on my Bandcamp, so you can go to coflo.bandcamp.com, look for the sweet ass artwork, click it, and you can get your copies of the project. At this time, I want to take a quick second to go ahead and read off the first question. So if you are tuned in and you're wanting to potentially be a part of one of the giveaways, we're going to be giving away a few cool items. So I'm going to show you really quick some of the stuff we're giving away. So the first drawing that we're going to do is going to be a giveaway for these Tsunami coasters. So these are table coasters or drink coasters. And Tsunami did all of this artwork. And this is actually all album art of mine. So we have Easy. This is Coflo and Lady C. Here in the middle, we have Playground Samba, a 3-track EP that came out on Ocha earlier this year. Pocket with Ever After. This came out last year on Metacumbe Records. O Birimbao. This was my first and only actual album that's come out. And this came out on the Offering Bodhisattva's label in 2017. Really cool artwork there. And then this was some artwork for a song that did come out recently called Lux, Local Talk. This was album art that wasn't necessarily designed for the song to have, but rather it was a project where I was using people's artwork to inspire the music creation process. And this was something that Tsunami had made and gave to me for me to then write a song to. And that's the song Lux, that people have been really loving this year and is one of my favorite songs I've done to date, came because I built the song from this imagery. So we're going to be doing a coaster giveaway with these. So you could get these coasters. That's pretty fucking sick. We're also giving away this Oya Ogun print. So this is a digital hand drawn print that Tsunami had done. This is going retail right now for $6,200, I believe. So it's a great piece of art if you're trying to get it in. Oya and Ogun, two orishas of the African and now African diasporic faiths that have spread throughout the world. Oya being back Latin translations to like an ironsmith or a blacksmith, and I don't know. I think it's just a fucking really powerful connection to be made with imagery and these ideas of these really, really old cultures that have basically birthed everything that we do in some way or another in a modern society. So I draw a lot of inspiration from that. And this particular project was drawn for a fundraiser for Mestre Han, who's one of my capoeira mestres, as he's been, and that's him right here, the Han, right here. So really cool print. We're doing a giveaway for that. So if you wanna get into that, make sure you're gonna answer the questions. And then the last thing that we're giving away is, and this is the grand prize, we're doing a hot lunch single. This is a 7-inch picture disc, super duper duper cool. This is artwork done by Richie Ramirez, my homie, R Cubed Studios or R3 Studios, homie and crewmate who's a brilliant artist, visual artist. He did the artwork for this. That's my homeboy Kanan right there, looking at the hot lunch. Really cool song. You get the physical vinyl, or rather digital disc. It's not a piece of vinyl, but it's a digital. It's a plexiglass visual playable disc that plays on a turntable just like a vinyl record would. It's 7 inches in size. You also get a digital download, and it's a collector's item. It's a little piece of the Coflo history. So these are limited, and I only have like a few of these left. So those are the giveaways, and we're going to go ahead and start with one of the questions. So pay attention. The first question is, and this is going to be put your name into the wheel. The first question is, who was the narrator of my album Obirimbao? So my first and only album, there is a theme and a narrator that is placed throughout to help tell the story of the project. Who is the narrator of that album? So go ahead and put your answers into the chat, and then Rose is going to collect your names if you're getting it right. And if you don't know the answers, I will say the answers later on. So once again, to enter into the contest, the first one is, who is the narrator of my first album, Obirimbao? Go ahead and put your answers in now, and I'm going to continue on. All right. So the next song that came out, which was technically May 11th, it featured on TrackSource a little earlier, is a song called, let me change up the artwork here. It's a song called After Midnight. And After Midnight is actually by my old friend TJ Walton featuring Mr. V. And if you don't know who Mr. V is, I don't know where you've been. If you're a house music connoisseur, you may not know who he is, but you definitely are going to recognize his voice if you're not a big collector. And TJ is an old friend of mine. He's originally from Sacramento, if I'm not mistaken. I grew up doing some dancing with him in the scene, both in like the competitive scene as well as the club scene, of course. And he's a part of a project called The Houseman. He throws an event called Soul Camp. Really cool dude. He's been making music for a while. He had a project. Was like, yo, do you want to remix Mr. V? And I was like, get the fuck out of here. Of course. Like, I mean, I didn't think, but remixing him was like absolutely. And the original version is like this really big kind of tech house, very big room sounding song. And I was like, I don't think I've ever heard Mr. V on acid. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna whip out the 303. Bam, right here, the 303, which is on loan from my boy Jiwa. He's letting me borrow it for however long he may let me borrow it. And I started doing an acid line while Mr. V's vocal started kind of affecting Mr. V's vocal, and then dropped in some bass and some basic drums. And I claim no real great technicality in being able to create old school 909, 303, 707 style of Chicago house music, but I had a lot of fun rocking this. So here's what it sounded like.
Tonight is perfect. You're here. I'm here. There's no better way to express my feelings about you. The moon shines. Your vibes are free. And the music is pushing me to tell you how I feel. I know I got this one chance, and I'm gonna take it when it feels right. Right here, right now. It's after midnight. Can I take you by the hand? I got so many plans. I know what I wanna do, 'cause right now it feels right. I wanna let you know how I feel. I wanna show right here, right now, 'cause it's after midnight. It's after midnight. Right here, right now. Come on. I wanna let you know how I feel. I wanna show. 'Cause it's after midnight. It feels right.
So for those who might not know what I mean by the acid, the Roland 303, the little synthesizer machine that I showed and picked up, it's really famous for creating this sound that you'll hear from time to time in all kinds of different music. Right? And that sound is this iconic throwback to when people were just starting to create music with these more simplistic drum machines and things that a lot of people, from the research I've done, regarded as kind of like throwaway equipment. It's equipment that people were like, professional musicians were like, I can't make good music with this. And then the people of like Chicago and Detroit were like, yo, I could fucking make some music with this. And of course, rave culture latched onto it heavily, not just like your club culture or like underground party culture, but like your big rave scene latched onto that kind of vibe. Really cool song. Just super cool that I got to rock with Mr. V's vocal. It is out now on TrackSource and available for streaming media. So get your dose of Coflo's version of Acid. Again, a very different take from the first two tracks, right? One was kind of like weird and abrasive. One was more soulful and groovy, talking about the blueprint of being a man and growing up in a time period that I can't even imagine. And then now we're rocking After Midnight with Mr. V basically turning on the sex with his vocal performance, and then me fucking it all up with some acid, some 303. Cool. So let's go to the next jammer here. This one is like, fuck, man. May is really cool because a lot of dreams come true. A lot of dreams came true in May. So Delata, this next song is by a band called Delata, which is based out of the UK. And I was working with Chris Frank, who's one of the band leaders, if not considered the band leader. And I don't mean to misquote that. I fell in love with Delata's music, and they're a band that does a lot of Brazilian. I don't want to say generalized Latin, but a lot of Brazilian, and they dip into some like more African, transatlantic kind of vibes. In terms of their music and their influence, and they write beautiful music. They have amazing artists that they feature. They're dope. I've never seen them live, but I fell in love with their first album, and I fell in love with the remix project that they did from their first album. And that remix project made me realize, like, oh shit, these guys really are into lots of different stuff, not just what their band is playing and writing. So I reached out some time ago and was like, I would love to work with you guys and do a remix. And here's the kind of music that I make. And I, runs the gambit of sounds. And they came back and were like, we would love to hear something. Chris is a super nice guy. It's been a pleasure working with him. This song came out on May 15th. And right now is actually being featured on iTunes, or Apple Music now. Apple Music in the new dance music playlist. So if you happen to subscribe to that playlist, you'll hear this song pop up. And this was Sway, with Vanessa Freeman, I believe is her last name, if I'm getting that right. And the track is called Sway, and this is my remix, and you'll hear that it's a very, very different route from the other songs. And also I should mention, this is another kind of dubby song where I didn't use the full singer-songwriter, and that was actually because of working with Chris. He wanted more of that effect. He didn't want just another version of the same song. He wanted to really hear the vocal messed about with. So I'm going to stop it there really quick, and I'm going to show you the back half of the project, because this song has kind of like a part A and a part B. And I think that that's an important distinction from the other songs that happen to come out that we were looking at with the Blueprint and Why Should I Stay and After Midnight, where the songs kind of progress, but they're really kind of the underlying groove is kind of there. And yeah, there's different parts that change, but this song actually has two very distinctive parts. The first part is this dubby, trippy feeling where you're floating inside and out of these rhythms, and the second part gives way to more like a full, thicker, richer sound with a bit more of like melodic composition. I don't want to say like heavy melody, like it's obvious melody, but it's more like you have lots of different things that you're drawing from, and it actually ends up using some more acid, but it's not as a main component. So I'm going to put you here on the back half of the break, and let's listen to that a bit. Hear like these rich Rhodes and chords coming in here that's really changing the landscape, and you'll start to hear the acid come in behind that. So I don't wanna play the whole song. Um, you can hear more of it. Uh, you know, please go listen to it live streaming. Go buy it at the Latas Bandcamp or on Tracksource. It's called Sway. It's the Coflo vocal dub. There's some questions that came in here. Valentine asked, which software are you using? This is Logic Pro. So my DAW, the main place that I work, I engineer, create, record, everything is in Logic Pro. And then Ocha asked, do you have any significance in the tracks, vocals, one color, percussion, etc.? And yeah, actually I do. So even though we're looking at like big groupings of stems, and if I was looking at this project, I think actually has parts wise, has like something like 80 different parts. I color anything that is drums or percussion red. I color my bass dark purple. Vocals are usually like a light pink or a really neon type of pink. Effects and things are browns and so on. And then the other instruments, a lot of the times I color code them based on how they feel. Warmer versus brighter. I use brighter colors versus warmer. If I have something with a lot of percussion, like if you were to look at this project in detail, since I have a lot of percussion, not just drums in it, I'm coloring some of those darker reds to signify where they're at. So I color coded this just very quickly, kind of just to give myself my normal brain snapshot of where things may be, but this isn't probably the exact color palette I would use. So cool. I'm going to go ahead and read another question. So this is number 2 for another part of the prize. So question number 2, what was the first Coflo song to ever be pressed on vinyl? What was the first Coflo song to ever be pressed on vinyl? Okay, so to give a bit of a hint, the first original Coflo song, the first original song made by Coflo pressed on vinyl. What was the first one? So go ahead and put your answers in the chat. See a question from Marcel. How do you usually stagger your beat rhythmic patterns? Sporadic changes throughout the entire track, consistent pattern for every amount of bars? Yeah, no, it's a good question. So, you know, sometimes if I feel like the groove is just working really, really, really well, I work within whatever the number of bars is that makes it feel good. And then if I feel like it's something that I don't need to pay attention to, then like if it's playing and I'm doing other stuff and I'm listening back and it's never something where I feel like I need to pay attention to it, then I feel like whatever rhythmic ideas I've laid are good enough. And then as a future pass, I always, even if it feels good and I don't pay attention to it, at some point in my creative process for rhythmic patterns, I'll go, what could I do to maybe liven this up? If the song feels like it needs to be livened up, right? Sometimes things don't need to feel like they need little fills in them or rhythmic changes. Like I don't try to overproduce things. Sometimes it feels naked and then you need to produce a little bit more. And a lot of that comes with objection, giving the song time and coming back to it later, using your friends. I send a decent amount of music to Carlos to get feedback. And most of the time he has really good suggestions for me, and not just my ultra music, but other music when I can remember. And sometimes I don't agree with him. And sometimes I'm like, well, fuck, that's a great idea. And then, he wants a paycheck. So no, I'm just kidding. But yeah, I mean, I don't think I have like a specific way, bro, other than I try to do something well. I don't go into it thinking I need to do a 4-bar change, 8 bars with a fill, 16 bars with a change and a fill. Like I just kind of try to do its natural. And as I'm getting better as a producer and as somebody who starts to write music better and better and programs better and better and works with people better and better, I try to come back and go, can more be done here? Can this feel better? not about overproducing, but rather just approaching that stuff. Do you, Keylock says, do you feel it's essential to study music theory to make you a better producer? It's not essential, but it fucking makes you a better producer. For the dancers tuning in, it's like saying, do you think studying a particular style of foundation is going to make you a better dancer? If you're a locker and you've taken every class by all the original lockers, you're going to have a better grasp on the approach, technique, and time period for the style, which gives way to potentially more creativity as you modernize what you're doing. Same thing to be said where if you just ignore a style like London locking or somebody else's approach from a more modern context, their theory and their principle study of it is invaluable. Do you need to have music theory to produce? You don't. You don't need any of it. And the more competent I become as a musician, which I don't consider myself a competent musician whatsoever, but the more competent I do become, oh man, it's just easier. At the same time, it not only gets easier, it can also pigeonhole you a little bit, and maybe you don't do weird shit that gives you good weird results. So there's a catch 22 to that. So I see people out here putting questions in, and mind you, you can use Google. I ain't checking if people are reaching to Google to get the answers to these questions. So let's go to the next song here, which is The Blacksmith. And The Blacksmith is a song that came out last Friday. Here it is. And this came out on Uncover Music, which, if I'm not mistaken, is based out of Italy. I believe Antonella is still in Italy. And this came out on the, technically it's coming out on the 5th, but the promo is out now for Blacksmith. And this is what people generally consider like Afro house. And to me, I just think of more of like, not Afro, I think more like there's this American drive behind the synthesis and the idea behind it, but diasporically I'm reaching to a lot of different rhythms and ideas and feelings that I get from just the amazing wide span rhythmic and musical context that come from the continent of Africa. And I wouldn't pinpoint it to any one particular country, region, zone, township, etc. It's really just this, like, you know, for me it's this like giant seed that's been planted, and I'm heavily influenced by that stuff, and a lot of it is the sound textures that lead me to the rhythmic ideas. So here is The Blacksmith, and I'll just drop it in here from the beginning. All right, so the song continues to build, and it's fucking polyrhythmic mayhem. I'm gonna drop you into this first break where I feel like it just gets a bit more crazy. So I'm just gonna let you listen a little bit more. Okay, that's all you get. The song's available to right now. It's available on TrackSource. On June 5th, you can actually stream it and it'll be available everywhere. But head over to TrackSource and buy it if you're feeling it and you want a copy of it now. Um, really cool song. Uh, Characteristically very different than the Sway track. Right, doesn't have any kind of beautiful transcending vibe to it whatsoever. Doesn't feel anything a throwback acid style of house. Like as you can see, like each of these songs is very different, and the approach that I take isn't like I need to do something different this time. That's not how I necessarily make music. It's more of like, getting in and creating. And this is also a song that's an original production, like the Blueprint. This is something created from scratch with only my ideas. This wasn't coming from somebody else's musical bedrock. So really cool song. Did a lot of sample flipping in this to get the drums and the polyrhythms and using some not so common rhythms for 4/4 based music, kind of blended in. And yeah, just super duper cool. The main idea for the song started with the sample chopping that I did at the beginning, which I didn't play for you, but I'll let you listen to really quick. So that little section there, I did some various things throughout the song, so it moves around a little bit, but that kind of gave birth to the whole idea of the song. And that's through more of a sampling method versus writing music sitting at a piano, which I've done for some of the other songs, or a bass line or whatever. So indeed it is 6/8. There was a question here. Is there one main artist? Mark asks, is there one main artist that has influenced you the most, and who is it? So there's three artists, and I say this all the time. There's three artists that have influenced me, and they've all influenced me in very different ways. Number one, when it comes to music production and also the idea of working inside of music, number one, my earliest influence was Ocean Lade. And part of the reason why that influence was there is because I loved the music he was producing, and he was the first producer I saw DJ that also made me fall in love with the way that he played music for a dance club. So it was the first time I heard a producer that came to Oakland that DJ'd. I think it was Oakland, might have been San Francisco at the time. This is a long time ago. They played, and I danced and I sweated my ass off, and it was like, this is the same person. It was just the first time. We have a lot of local artists in the San Francisco area, especially during the time that I came up producing music, really of the kind of like Salted, Ohm Records, Naked Music, kind of like that vibe. And while I did like the music and the DJs were okay, they never gave me the fury and the passion for the way that I felt connected like Ocean Lade. And still to this day, him being so fucking prolific and him working so hard is an extreme inspiration. The second one is Ron Trent. And the reason why Ron Trent is a massive influence of mine is because he has a sound, undeniably, no one would fucking refute this. It's still in my opinion, I don't know if it's actual fact. He has a sound that is his own, plain simple, point blank. And if you make anything that sounds remotely close to it, people tend to say, yep, that sounds like Ron Trent. And I love it. Some people can't identify with it. I think it's brilliant. I love the way that he does incorrect things in a very correct way that change the sonic landscape. I love a lot of the times the length of his productions and the story, the journey that you're on, even if it's an instrumental. And again, longevity in it is just amazing. Also, one thing to say, because of another reason why I didn't really think about it until these coming years that I've been working harder in the business of music. But another reason why Ocean Lade and Ron Trent are such a huge influence of mine, I think, is because they really created what is now being, like, on a business side, being marketed as like Afro House. And again, this is my opinion. I don't know if this is fact, but those two guys, and maybe somebody like a Joe Claussell, who's amazing. I love him. I just wouldn't cite him as like one of my main influences. They really started to bring diasporic ideas from the continent of Africa into their music and do it in a way that was like very, very, very specific and intentional. It wasn't like, hey, let's just put some bongos in the background or something like, cornballish. It was like, you could hear when they made music that had these ideas in it. You could hear the impact that it had. And I don't know if that was intentional on their part. I've never talked to either one of them about it. But my third influence is Jazz. And I do love Jazz's music, but I'm not influenced by him as much by his music production as I am from his sonic ideas. Jazz was the first producer, because I've never actually heard him DJ, but he was the first producer that I would hear his song against another song, and I was like, holy shit, this sounds amazing. Like when my ears started to understand how there was another side to making music, and this was more of an engineering, a sonic palette, a creative palette, and it's all opinion and subjection. Like it's not the way you have to do things, but he influenced me massively, and it changed me from just making music into starting to study audio engineering. Jazz is the number one fucking reason for that. I could not play my song next to one of my favorite Jazz songs and feel like my song was something I could mix into it. I just couldn't, because it sounded like shit. So that's a big influence there. All right, I'm gonna ask one more question before we get to our last song. So this is the final question. Where's my question list? The final question is, for the true Coflo fans, this is fucking hilarious that it says that. For the true Coflo fans, what was the title of my first digital release? Or you could say my first original release. What was the title of my first digital release? Hint, it is on my Bandcamp. So if you go to coflo.bandcamp.com, you can find it on there. It's not the first song that I ever had come out in the world in terms of my music, but it is the first digital release. What is the name of that song? My first release. What is the name of that song? You could put the name of the song, or it's give you another hint. It's on an EP, which means it has more than one song on it. You could put the name of the EP or the name of the song. What is the first digital release? Coflo's first digital release. Go ahead and put that in the roomy room for the chitty chat. All right. Let's move on to the last song, which is out now. The last song, and I didn't color code this, so that's all good. The last song is, we're in the middle of a social media campaign. I'll show you the first part of the video campaign that's up here in just a second. So this song is called Color of My Soul, and it's by me and my big bro dancing partner, Khalif Sellers, aka the Big Leaf in Coflo. We made this song in lieu of working on Khalif's second album, which is like a multitude of dance music and hip hop and spoken word, and it's still in progress. It probably would have been done by now if COVID hadn't happened, I bet. But this song is probably going to be a single more or less from that album. We haven't decided yet, but it's out. You can get it on my Bandcamp, coflo.bandcamp.com, or on TrackSource. And it will be available for streaming media on the 12th of June, which means Spotify, Apple Music, etc. And this song, and again, very different path, is a bit more funky, a bit more deep, has this amazing message, which couldn't be more of an important message to stand up for right now, with all of the crazy injustices going on within our Black communities and the people of color, and in general, people that are just economically disenfranchised during these hard times, or on the regular, which fucking sucks. What color is your soul? A color has no country. I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful message. I'm gonna let you rock with it for a bit. I'll skip a little bit further on as you get a sense for the vibe. I'll skip further on so you can hear some of Khalif's messaging in the song.
Color my soul. She said, color my soul.
funky. Now I'm gonna skip ahead towards this back half where you can hear Khalif give a bit more of his context to the song and the theme of the campaign that we have running, which I'll share one of the videos from the campaign here and after this.
She's color my soul. Enrich my body with your essence.
Go ahead.
Give me your energy. Give me your power. If you could choose a color, what color would you be? If you can be a color, what color would you be? Your soul, my soul. Your soul, my soul.
So to give a bit of context to where I think a lot of the ideas started stemming from the like a lyrical side, which came kind of after the music production was happening. Khalif was here. We were working on his album, and when you're in a club, in club culture and in dance club culture, the lighting is always not in your favor, and people look sometimes like whatever the color of the lighting is. And a lot of the times what you look to feel, and you can't talk to people. I mean, you can talk to people, but you can't have like, realistically, you're not going to have like a regular ass conversation like if you're sitting down at a coffee shop. So like between the lights changing and people on the outside taking on a different color, their dance shows a whole different color, a whole different essence of who they are. And it's something that I think anybody who's rich in the club culture can identify with. And I think people that are new dancers that are getting into these club dances where they're learning them outside of the context, it's a bit harder to comprehend that. But there is, without sounding cliche, there really is this exchange of energy and who a person is through like these club culture contexts where the music is what resonates through the body. The lighting isn't showing you truly what people normally see you in regular daylight. So you're seeing a truly different color of who a person is in these environments. And some might say of this culture that you're seeing the real color of a person. So the song, the music, which is what kind of gave birth to end up being this concept of the song, started with Khalif doing a drum pattern, which I'll play the beginning of this. And the drum pattern wasn't exactly like this, but it was like this. Yeah, so last chance to answer the question for the Coflo fans, what was the title of my first digital release? What was the title of my first digital release? It's on Bandcamp, coflo.bandcamp.com. And there's other two questions. You can go ahead and try to answer them. The other question is, who is the narrator of my album, my only album and first album, O Birimbao? U Birimbao. Who was the narrator of my album, U Birimbao? There was a person that was narrating the album through a sample. Who was that person? And the second question, or whatever order of questions you want to consider this, what was the first Coflo song to ever be pressed on vinyl? So the first original song to ever be pressed on vinyl. If you happen to know the first actual remix that I did that was on vinyl and you happen to put that in there, I'll send you something special. But we're looking for what was the first Coflo song that was pressed on vinyl. All right, so check out this drum pattern. This is just fucking crazy groove. Gnarly. It's just got such a good groove. We started adding some shakers and some things to it, and then I started hitting this clavinet line. I just played this like funky ass clavinet. decided to go from there. I mean, everything else kind of gave way. It's a very simplistic song. It's very stretched out. Doesn't have a obvious arrangement that makes sense, like verse, chorus. It has some vocal samples. It has a weird lead pattern that's out of tune. Underground, deep, soulful, American house track. And we have this really cool campaign going, and I want to show you. We have videos coming out every other day with a full-length video where we've got beautiful dancers from around the world sharing just a snippet of their dance, and you get to the whole theme behind like the different colors of who all these people are. So this is the first part that we released yesterday, because this track just dropped yesterday, coflo.bandcamp.com. You can get it. But here is the first part of the campaign. So tomorrow a new video is going to drop, Tuesday, and so on.
Enrich my body with your essence. Give me your
Brooklyn.
energy.
I believe he's in Brooklyn. Michael.
Give me your power.
There's Maya K. She's out in Berkeley right now.
If you could choose a color, what color would you be?
Brooklyn Terry, who's actually in Tokyo, if I'm not
If you
mistaken,
could be a
or
color,
Japan. There's him and his son.
what color would you be?
Super fucking dope. Raul Wilkie, aka the third Le Twin. He's out in
Your
T-Dot,
soul.
Toronto.
My soul.
Super dope. Michaela,
Your
Misha.
soul.
She's in Berkeley.
My soul.
She's staying at the CHP, the Carlton Housing Project. And Lady C,
think you
my
know what
sister
color
from another
you are?
mister. She's out in T-Dot right now as well. Originally from Calgary.
A color has no country.
So really cool. Yeah, he is the third Le Twin. For sure. So let's get to selecting some winners of these goodies. I know we didn't get a lot of people answering questions, and that's okay. Whether you were scared or you don't care about the swag, or you don't care about me, it's all good. So just to do a quick review of the prizes here, we're going to start it out with the coasters, see who gets the coaster package combination. Then we're going to go to the print, the beautiful print, right? And then we're going to go with the Hot Lunch single. Okay, so let's go ahead and start with the these goodies. So we're going to start with the coaster collection. Opening up our wheel here. All right, so we got Track Runner Music. It's probably Jair, I'm imagine. We got Marcel. We got Keegan. We got John Neth, D-Dance, and Maya K. Okay, so this is for the coaster set. Let's go. Spinny, spin, spin. And Track Runner wins the coaster set. Cool. And we put everybody in the pot who participated. So lessons learned, people who participate get the opportunity. That's what you get. Okay. So Track Runner gets the coaster set. All right, let's spin the wheel now for the print, the super print. Wow. Spinny, spin, spin, spin. Hey, D-Dance gets the print. Congratulations. Oh yeah, we didn't answer the questions. Sorry. So the first question, oh shit. So I'm new to this, if you couldn't tell. But that's the comedy of this being live. So the first question was, who narrated my first album, Ubirimbao? So we go to track source. Ubirimbao. Boom, here's my first album. So my first album came out in 2017, Offering Records. Listen to this.
Because in reality, I'm not a historian. What I know about the history of the capoeira is the passion of knowledge of a capoeirista.
And there's lots of other narrations in there. That is the voice of Mestre Accordion. He is my grand grande mestre of capoeira. Brilliant man. Google him. He is a massive figure in my artistic and quality of life, living in a positive manner. He So question number 2 was, what was the first Coflo song to ever be pressed on vinyl? So if we go to my Bandcamp and we go to Easy, we will see this is the first vinyl piece that I've ever had. Me and Lady C did a song called Easy, and it's the first original song that I've ever done that came out on vinyl. I have had a remix out on vinyl prior to this, 1 or 2 I think, but this was my first original song that came out on vinyl. If you don't know the song, you should check it out. It's super sick. It's one of my favorite songs I've ever done in my entire life. It's going to be hard to live up to it. So that's the answer to question number 2. Let's go ahead and spin the wheel again to see who may get the print since D-Dance doesn't want it. Let's go. Spin, 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 spin. Marcel! Congratulations, sir. You are the winner of a brand new Warriors dance print. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. It couldn't go to a better home than Marcel in his amazing back patio and hot tub, and it's like a spa oasis up in Sacramento. Okay, the final question for true Coflo fans: what was the title of the first digital release? And again, everybody got entered who participated. So the original song, the first song, the original digital release that came out was an EP. Oh shit, I'm going the wrong place. Was an EP. I'm going to my Bandcamp. Brrr, boom, down at the bottom because this is the first song. It's an EP called Wolf Tickets. Bay Area slang, Wolf Tickets basically means like you're selling lies, you're bullshitting people. So a song called Wolf Tickets with the B-side being Ghost Tickets, digital B-side. This is the first. This was the first digital release that I had done. It was the second release for the record label that I started called Catch the Ghost Records. This project was significant to me, not because I think it was my favorite song I've ever done, but it's significant because no one would fuck with me. Even network connections that I had made who had ins and outs, maybe potentially to demo my music, no one would fuck with my music. No one. Was I garbage? I don't know. I have no idea. You can see there's a lot of music that came out before I ever released things with other labels that I put out myself. I think a lot of it was dope as fuck, but no one would fuck with me. So I decided to do it on my own, started my own label with a bunch of friends of mine. We started putting out music. This was the first song. So who is going to get the grandiose prize of the Hot Lunch limited picture disc situation? Okay. Who's it going to be? I wish I could spin the wheel even faster. Go. John Nett. Congratulations, John. You are the winner of the picture disc. Congratulations. For Keylock and for Maya, I'm going to give you guys something anyways. I'm going to give you guys something special. I need to figure out what that is now that it looks like a Pokemon ball. I'm not going to spin it again. I'm definitely going to do something for Maya and Keegan for Keylock for participating and tuning in. If you want a prize, please email me. Coflo, I'm going to put it up here on the screen. Please email me, coflo@mindbodyflow.com. Email me so I can make sure I have your email address, or you can Instagram message me, or you can Facebook message me. But hit me up so you can send me your email address so that I can start getting my stuff going. In terms of sending you out your goodies and making it happen. So that includes Keylock and Maya. Please go ahead and send me your information so I can figure out what we can do for everybody who participated. And yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. If there's any final questions, please go ahead and put them in the chat. I'm happy to, to answer. We're about 25 minutes or so over my projected time, but this was the first one. This is also a fucking crazy busy month. I hope to do recaps every month with something going on, something fun. But the massive this month. A lot of it came out. Next month I have far less coming out, and normally I might have 1-2 things coming out a month, or projects that I'm involved in that I can highlight. So this was just a crazy month, so I appreciate everybody rocking with me for the first one of these streams. If you are interested in more like really cool art and swag, and a lot of the brand and stuff, and like, for instance, like my studio here, in the beautifulness of my studio, that's here, that this drawing and this art, you can check out Tsunami Originals, tsunami-originals.com, or you can head over to Tsunami's Etsy page, which is here. And here she has all kinds of good stuff. So you can see, like, she's got the print. She's selling it as a discount. It's normally around like $7,500 for this print, but she's selling it at a discount. She's got these really dope pillows, including the Playground Samba, which is from my EP Playground Samba, and the Lux inspired art. Really cool drawings and stickers. She has an original arts coffee table book. Just cool stuff. She has some original art as well up there that you can purchase. You can also go to tsunami-originals.com if you want to get in with that stuff. So yeah, so I'll consider the silence as acceptance. And thank you so much for tuning in. Please stay locked to catchtheghost.tv for more good stuff going on. Catchtheghost.tv is ultimately going to turn into a giant content playground for me. So you get live streaming. You'll be able to access all the mixes that are being recorded from our simmer rooms and our Straight Ghost and podcast that Catch the Ghost record does. Just a really good source to kind of like rock with my world and all of my craziness going on. Yeah, feel free to reach out, ask questions after the fact if there's anything that you want to hit me up about. And thank you so much for tuning in. Really hope you enjoyed spending an hour with me on your Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, and peace, everybody.